Courtside Monday.
Welcome into Courtside Monday. Chris Burkhardt here with you as always. You can follow me on Twitter at Chris J. Burkhardt. I get the next hour by myself. We may or may not be graced by the presence of one Chad Doing. He did tell me last week that he would try to come, but he does forget, and he's in the middle of golfing. So you never know. We'll have some fun. The intro also still involved Yusuf Nurkic and Jeremy Grant's voices, which means another week has gone by and they still have not been traded. So that's good if you like those two. But we got some action to talk about. Dwight and I talked about it a little tiny bit. Just a little tiny bit, a little smidge on the drive. Kind of about what the Blazers do from here, if they'll be good, if they'll be bad, what you're hearing coming out of Miami, etc. But there hasn't been a ton. There has not been a ton coming out of Blazer camp, except, of course, late last week, the liked tweet that Damian Lillard had on his timeline. Then he unliked it, so it would go away. But we got to talk about that and what has been eventful for the Blazers, as if you're a fan, I feel like you are kind of on pins and needles. You're in a little bit of discomfort here, trying to figure out what's going on. Is Dame done? Is he going to be here at the start of the season? Is Ant going to be here? Is Nurk going to be like? There's still a lot of unanswered questions. Everything. I think there might be more dominoes to fall. It just feels like everything is kind of associated with where Damian Lillard is going to go. And part of the reason Blazer fans are so intrigued with where Damian Lillard goes is because you are all a bunch of degenerates, a bunch of animals. And I mean that in a positive way. Over the last few days, I had fans in comments, oh my gosh, people were watching like hawks the scoreboards on I guess it wasn't Sunday, but over the weekend to see if the Blazers would get into the semifinals of the Summer League. Okay, Portland needs to score this much, and this team needs to lose by this much. And I'm like, guys, it's Summer League. You're all animals. And that offended them. They were like, but it's all we have to watch right now. And I'm like, no, I don't mean it negatively. Like, you guys are bucket heads. Like the Blazer fandom in a nutshell. Like, there are hoops. I don't care if it's Summer League or a Winter League, Playground League, Elementary School League. If there's a pinwheel to root for, I'm going to be invested. I love that. I absolutely love that. And that's not just Blazer fan. That's right now at the Cavs and the Rockets are playing in the Summer League championship game. And I guarantee you Cavs fans are watching. Houston Rockets fans involved. If they win, maybe they'll go print shirts like Blazer fans did. 2-time Summer League champions. If you're a basketball head, man, and your team is playing any way, shape, or form, you're going to be invested. And I love that. I love that about Rip City. I love that about what's been going on here at Summer League. Now, the Blazers did finish Summer League 3-1, didn't make it into the semifinals. The new format there, 4-team playoff is what it is. But they did have a good time. I think Shaedon Sharpe looked good. I was really impressed myself with some of the minor improvements of Jabari Walker. I thought he moved with a little more fluidity. Offensively, didn't look lost like he did at times last year. Hopefully he can continue to build on that. There might be a legit opportunity for Jabari Walker to see rotation minutes. I would not be shocked. I mean, look at the Blazers as they stand. I mean, they did watch Drew Eubanks walk and go to Phoenix, so the backup center spot is open. They obviously don't have Trendon Watford anymore, who played some minutes at that spot last year. And so Jabari could absolutely slide into that 5 position as your backup. A little bit undersized, but still get in there and get some minutes. It's going to be interesting to see. Definitely like the improvements. I think fans actually kind of liked what they saw out of guys like Aju Baji and John Butler. Baji definitely made some mistakes. And the team as a whole, maybe you shouldn't have thrown that lob when leading in game 1. Point differentials and not. But I think people liked what they saw. Even the half of basketball that we got to see out of Scoot Henderson was good. Now, he left that game with a shoulder strain, didn't play again. Cautionary. makes sense. You don't want to risk it. There is, you can risk it for the biscuit, but there is no biscuit in Summer League. I still wonder. They did show the pictures of the Summer League championship ring that will be handed out to the winner of this game, and I was like, are those real diamonds? Or are those fake diamonds? Like, will a Summer League ring turn your finger green if you wear it too long? Is it real? Is it real gold? Like, these are the things I wonder. But again, joking aside, Scoot looked good. Yeah, I think he's going to be as advertised. He showed the explosiveness, showed the vision. I think showed a few glimpses of what he might be able to do defensively. And you take what you can. You take what you can out of 20 minutes of action and enjoy it. Unfortunate that he got hurt and didn't play more than that first game, but that is also kind of, par for the course with the top Blazer pick. Zach Collins busting his nose in Summer League, Shaedon Sharpe hurting his shoulder last year. That didn't really hurt him as he continued to create a highlight reel his entire rookie year. So, yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see what they got in Scoot. And I haven't even talked about Chris Murray and Ryan Rupert. I thought Rupert, still question marks. Murray, I thought, looked good. Had a couple big shots. Again, defensively, looks like he might be able to make an impact. So I'm excited, Blazer fans. What about you? Are you excited? What do you think is going to happen? How do you feel after Summer League? Join us, 503-248-0620. One more time, 503-248-0620. Got to get that out crystal clear. Somewhere out there, I know Ken in Vancouver's listening. He's going to want to tell me that the Blazers should have got John Collins. It's a fair argument. You were just wrong, Ken. Just try to have fun. Join the phone calls. We'll have some fun here. But yeah, that's Summer League in a nutshell. And now it's the dead period. Now we got to figure out what goes on as the rumors continue to swirl with Damian Lillard, Miami. Who are they going to give? Who are they going to get Tyler Hero? What kind of assets can they get you? Is Joe Cronin going to play the long game? Is he going to play the short game? Does he take the best deal? Does he just take the deal that offloads Dame? Does Dame come back? I think there is a realistic chance, an absolute non-zero chance here, that Damian Lillard is wearing a Blazer uniform on opening night. And I think it's interesting because I can't tell you the last time I saw a narrative on a player change so quickly. Dame went from the greatest Blazer of all time, a guy that everybody loved without question, to a guy that people are like, if you want to leave, leave. I don't even want you here anymore. You are the bad guy. Dame is the worst. Now, I got in this debate with my buddy Keith, co-host on our Trailcasters podcast. And I asked him, I'm like, you hate Dame now? He's like, oh, Dame's the worst. I don't even want him to have success in Miami. Don't want to root for him. He is the enemy. And I asked him, I said, so if Damian Lillard, and keep in mind he was going in on, Dame selfish this, Dame selfish that, Dame could have done this different, Dame blah, blah, like it was all pointed, it was all Dame's fault. So I asked him, I'm like, well, if Damian Lillard is wearing a Blazer uniform on opening night at Moda Center and you are there, are you cheering or are you booing? Without question, he goes, oh my gosh, I'm cheering as loud as I've ever cheered before. I'm showing him love. I go, exactly. This has nothing to do with Dame as much as it has to do what uniform he's wearing. Somewhere deep down inside, even if he's wearing a Miami uniform, you want to love the man Dame. But if he ain't wearing the Blazer uniform, that makes it just harder to love him. But you want to love him. It has a lot more to do with the uniform than it does the player. And this idea like, oh, is there no loyalty in sports anymore? I feel like playing 10 years on one team is pretty darn loyal. And what you do from there is what you do. But man, 10 years, one team? How many teams has James Harden played with in the last 4 years alone? How many players can you name played, 15-year careers, 20-year careers, what have you, one team? The list is small. In our generation, we can think of names, right? Tim Duncan, Kobe Bryant, Reggie Miller. But from there, How many teams did MJ play on? For those of you who don't recall, he didn't play his entire career with the Chicago Bulls. How many teams does Shaq play on? Didn't play them all with the Lakers. LeBron, Carmelo, Chris Bosh, Ray Allen, Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce. Just thinking of some other big guys, big stars who've come through, right? For every, 20 of those guys, then you get a Dirk. Dwayne Wade, Mr. Miami Heat, also played for the Cavs and the Bulls. I don't think leaving after 11 seasons means you're no longer loyal at your core. You're not a loyal person anymore. There's so many layers to these things that can change opinions, change views. And I firmly believe, as I felt last week and the week before that Dame was not lying. That Dame wants this to work out in Portland. He wants everything the way he had planned, retiring a Blazer. And heck, even if he goes to Miami, he still might retire a Blazer. Never say never. Can always come back. Pull the LeBron. Go to Miami, win a title, then come back. Maybe at that point he signs the vet deal, friendly deal after he's been paid his $60 million and now he's 36 years old and he's going to come be, the savior. He's going to come off the bench as a sixth man, do something at not $60 million a year. I don't know. Just spitballing. But again, where are all those loyal guys who have spent their entire careers? I think you have a couple on the cusp. Maybe. He just re-signed there. But, maybe Draymond never wears another uniform. Steph, I don't really see ever wearing another one. Same with Clay. Unique. But other than that, loyalty's tough. And so I get why you loved Dame and this idea because you felt he was going to be one of those rare ones, right? So I get that. You knew it. You thought he was going to be a Dirk. You thought he was going to be a Reggie. Unfortunately, Reggie didn't have a ring. So just loyalty doesn't mean success either. And it was easy for Dirk to swallow the last 2 years of his career, which were, I believe, the only 2 years of his tenure in Dallas where they weren't a winning team. Easier to swallow that when A, you're at the end of your career, and B, you have a championship under your wing. A championship to lean on. You got a ring to look at every night. Dame doesn't have that. And for as much as he said winning doesn't matter, at its core, it always does. And I firmly believe that Dame is the type that just wants to be competitive. He wants the team to show that they're trying to build around him. Now, there are mixed signals here because the team did one thing. They went and got Jeremy Grant. That was something he wanted him to do. He did do that. Then they paid him. Knew the team needed to be better defensively. They got Matisse Thybulle, re-signed him. So they've done a few moves. They just struggled in the offseason. And it was always going to be tough. It was always going to be tough. And perhaps Scoot was the straw that broke the proverbial camel's back. Because can you blame him? What do you do when the team goes and drafts the guy who plays your position? At number 3, a guy that everyone says is generational and can be the second coming and is going to be a legit star in this league. And you see that. That's tough. That's a tough pill to swallow. So we'll see what happens because Miami wants him. But Miami has to work their best to put together a package. They have got to find a package to get him. And the current package doesn't do it. It just doesn't. I mean, they don't need Tyler Hero. They need picks. Miami's picks aren't going to be great because Miami is a really good team regardless. Miami hasn't picked, in the top 10 for 10 plus years. So it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough to get this together and see what they can get from Dame. But regardless of where Dame lands and what uniform he is wearing by the end of next season, I do think this Blazer team can be better than advertised for various reasons. Why? Join the conversation with me on Twitter over at Chris J. Burkhardt. I had an old coworker when I used to work at the old meat shop. he was a gamer like myself, and we would always play Call of Duty. And he was into Battlefield when Battlefield was trying to be the big competitor. And every time that song would come on, he'd be like, "I love to play Battlefield," and I don't know why. It's just what I think of when I hear "Love is a Battlefield." That's there we go. That's my joke for the day. You're laughing over there, Shacker. You're having fun.
Yeah, Battlefield was the inferior Call of Duty.
Oh yes, without a doubt. Except you could get in vehicles and buildings fell apart. It was actually kind of cool. Call of Duty just owned the world and wouldn't let go. So, like, Battlefield was Cody Rhodes and Call of Duty's Brock Lesnar.
Call of Duty got me to buy Xbox Gold. Xbox Gold died today.
It did. It did. It's now moving on to like Xbox Core or something, part of the Game Pass package. Game Pass is phenomenal, by the way.
Not right now. It doesn't have the new NBA game.
Yeah, well, go buy the new NBA game when it's on sale for $4.99 or whatever that screenshot you sent me was. All right, we need to get back into our talk here. First off, let's continue for a second here down this Dame trade path because there's always some interesting takeaways, and one of them that I do find interesting is narratives and the ones people want to create or make up. And I find it interesting. There's this tweet here from Pinwheel Empire. I'm sure many of you are familiar with a fan kind of blog site. They tweet a lot. They do great. That account, it rubs some people the wrong way, but man, they tweet like crazy and they do love their Blazers. So you can't go wrong there. But they tweeted out earlier today, Anthony Simons and Tyler Hero are practically the same raw stats and shooting percentage aside from rebounds, while Ant makes $5 million less per year. For the last month, the media keeps spewing this narrative about how great of an asset Hero is, but not saying the same about Ant. End tweet. And I find that an interesting tweet to send in the first place because for the last months, plural, all we've been talking about here on the radio station, all of the national guys that we've had on, the Keith Smiths, the Kurt Helans, the Chris Hayneses of the world, when we were talking about how did the Blazers build around Dame and this, what was the asset that talks about being traded? Ant. Ant has always been this great asset that they've talked about traded. And no one is saying like Ant's bad and Hero's great. The only reason Hero is in these conversations is because financially it's the only one that makes sense to be involved in a trade. Now, Hero does not make sense for the Blazers, but there are going to be plenty of teams that Hero does make sense for. Teams that need a little bit of scoring punch from that guard position, teams that have cap space and can get him in, teams that have picks that they can offload to acquire him. I've said this before, but I look at teams like San Antonio. San Antonio would love Tyler Hero, I think. They have plenty of draft capital that they can give up. Gives them a score next to Wembanyama as they continue to rebuild. His contract doesn't hurt him in the least because you have cap floors that you have to spend. And it doesn't have to be a long-term play with him. Makes sense. Why not? Take a flyer on him. But Hero being the logical player to be moved in any Miami Heat trade that involves a star of Dame's caliber doesn't mean that he is leaps and bounds a better asset than Ant by any means. Because how come no one's talking about Ant? Because Ant's not the one being traded. His trade value is irrelevant here. It does not matter in a Dame trade because if you are to believe what we believe, it's Ant's not going anywhere right now. In fact, I don't think the Blazers want to go in there and inflate his trade value or anything and tell people how good he is because I think the Blazers at this point want to keep him. And it makes sense. I think that he next to Scoot offers a lot of versatility. The three guards that they have offers more versatility than Dame and Scoot. Because Dame is a 1 and Scoot is a 1. Ant is a true tweener. So now it's gonna like allow them to move some stuff around, especially when you decide to play Shaedon Sharpe in there. Like if you played Ant and Dame, you go into next year with Ant and Dame, okay? You could sub Dame out. Now you have two options. Are you going to sub Scoot in or slide Ant over and put Shea at the 2. Go either way. But if you slide Ant over and put Shea at the 2, that means there's minutes that Scoot is not going to get. If you put Scoot at the 1, keep Ant at the 2 for a minute, that's minutes that Shea's not going to get. Now, eventually, maybe you put Shea in to spell Ant to give him a little bit of a break. Then you put Dame back in. And at the end of the night, Scoot's only getting, 12, 15 minutes a night, and so is Sharp. But in a situation where you start Scoot and Ant next to each other, well, then you can sub Scoot out. You can slide Ant over. You can put Sharp in at the 2. Okay, and then after a little bit, you can sub Ant out, put Scoot back in at the 1. So Scoot and Sharp go together. Then you can end up subbing Sharp out, put Ant back in. Now you did that 3-guard rotation through that with Ant being the guy who can play both positions, making it easier. And with the 3 bodies, now those guys are each going to be able to get their 20 plus 25 minutes a night easy, and you're not killing the development. So I like the balance there. So again, there's no reason for them to even want to say, this is how good Ant is because we want to get rid of him. But saying Hero is a tradable asset and not talking about Ant doesn't mean that people are poo-pooing Anthony Simons. The talk about Ant, again, for the longest time has been about how he is their best trade asset if they want to build around Dame. He might still be a possible trade asset if they want to go in and maybe find a young small forward or power forward. I don't think they need to, though. Which all leads me to the fact that I think this team, once Dame is traded, or even if Dame is here, because yes, it's going to eat into Sharp and Scoot's minutes, but I still think you're going to be able to balance stuff out in the long run. I think this team, healthy, is going to be better than advertised. Everyone's automatically thinking that this team is toasted. The fact that they just got the number 3 pick, the fact that Dame wants out, this team is going straight back to the lottery next year, and they're going to be the worst team in the West. I just don't see it. Because you got Ant, who's a 20-plus per night guy. You got Jeremy Grant, who's a 20-plus per night guy. You got Matisse Thybulle, who is an all-defensive type guy. You got Shaedon Sharp, who might be able to make a big jump this year. You got Scoot Henderson, who prior to Blazers picking him, prior to draft night, prior to the lottery when we didn't know who would be drafting in what position, Scoot was my pick to be Rookie of the Year. Still very well could be in that conversation. Still got, no one's even talked about Nasir Little. You still got Yusuf Nurkic, who, again, unless he asks out, I don't see a ton of incentive to trade him. And, people, unless that's what you need to get Dame out here. Nope. No. The other teams need to find ways to get Dame out. You don't need to be adding assets to Dame to get rid of him. That's ridiculous. And in fact, I personally really want to see Yusuf Nurkic play with Scoot for a minute. Because Yusuf Nurkic, one thing he did exceptionally well with Dame was the pick and roll offense. Right? Now, Dame is a pick and pop guy. He's going to pick, he's going to drive as well. He's going to pick, he's going to pass, but pick and pop it. If he's going to pick, defender goes under the screen, gives him enough space, boom, shooting it. With Scoot, not only is he more of that passing point guard, like he has the ability to be a much better passing point guard than Dame. I'm not going to knock Dame. Dame just had an almost 8 assists per game year. Like it's not as if he's bad. I just think Scoot can be really good in that aspect of the game, and he's more of an attacker than Dame. Granted, now they're both that 6'2" range. The explosiveness benefits Scoot. I don't know if I've seen a guy that size jump so effortlessly. So now you can run pick and rolls with Nurk, and you can attract the defense. So if you pick around Nurk and you decide to attack, now the defense has a decision. Does our paint defense go to the attacking guard, or does it go to the rolling big? And if they decide to go to the rolling big, Scoot is going to get to the rim. If they decide to go to the attacking guard, then he can either pass off to Nurk or he can float it up. Shot misses. Nurk's there for an easy offensive rebound and a putback. And it reminds me a whole lot, and we've been saying this for a while now about Scoot, about Russell Westbrook for the longest time in OKC, right? And we can say all we want about current Russ. We could say all we want about how we feel about Russ on a personal level. What we cannot deny is for a stretch run there, he was incredible in OKC. Won an MVP. Whether you think he padded some triple-double stats or not, really is neither here nor there. There was a moment in time where he may have been the most unguardable point guard in the NBA. Pure athleticism, pure speed, all gas, no break. Honest to God, one of my favorite players in the NBA to watch for that stretch there in OKC. Now, he ran the pick and roll to incredible efficiency with Enes Kanter. Enes Kanter got paid. He ran the pick and roll to incredible efficiency with Steven Adams. Steven Adams got paid. And I find it very interesting that perhaps he could do the same with Yusuf Nurkic. Now, you look at Steven Adams. I mean, Steven Adams had a year there in OKC, 2 years back-to-back, where he averaged 14 and 9. Not too bad for a guy who's never been heralded for his offensive game, for his footwork or his jump shot. He's just right spot, right time, taking advantage of running that pick and roll with Russ. And I will point out, this is something that I've completely forgot about until the Godfather, Dwight James, pointed it out inadvertently, in fact, on the show today. And that was the fact that Scotty Brooks is on this coaching staff. He's the lead assistant to one Chauncey Billups. And throughout Russell Westbrook's entire career, what coach got the most out of Russ's skill set? Scott Brooks. He did it in OKC, and he did it again when he had Russ in Washington for a small window. But I don't know if there was a better coach for Russ, the guy that was kind of able to channel him up a little bit, get him focused, than Scott Brooks. In fact, that one year that Russ played in Washington, he had the most rebounds he had in his career at 11.5. Also, career high 11.7 rebounds per game, or assists per game, excuse me. All while also averaging 22 points. And this is what people started to consider the start of the downslide. Now in LA, he was 18 and a half points. Still good. Still good. But all his best years were with Scott Brooks. And so you got that type of coach who knows how to get the most out of that type of player. And that type of player is not 32-year-old Russell Westbrook in Washington. It is current 19-year-old rookie in Scoot Henderson. Now, Scoot went on, excuse me, oof. Russ did have, 15 points per game his rookie season. 5.5 assists, 5 rebounds. And we'll see where Scoot goes. But when you look at the prime run of Russ's career, the coach who was partially responsible for that, currently on the Blazers staff, I think that's huge. Absolutely think that's huge. I also think it pays, again, the fact that they have, the Blazers, a very good pick and roll big already in Yusuf Nurkic. A guy who could pair really well next to Scoot. I want to see it happen. I truly do. And they also still have the pick and pop with Ant. So and we have not even factored in whatever potential player they get in. Because ideally, what you want to do if you're the Blazers, now it's hard to do. Ideally, what you want to do is you want to get a third team involved, and maybe you get into a situation where Tyler Hero goes to San Antonio. San Antonio is willing to part with a pick, and Dame's going to go to Miami. Miami's going to part with Hero, Robinson, and 3 picks, and you're going to find the team that has that star small forward or power forward coming up that you think can be a really good building block, and the picks go to that guy. Now, you don't want the picks. You don't care, but you got Scoot and you got Shaedon and you got a Lowry Markkanen type, because look what happened with Lowry Markkanen in Utah last year. I think you'd probably be pretty excited if that's what you got for Dame. That was another building block piece, a true nice young guy to build around. Maybe you get a pick or two out of it too. You never know. I'm just spitballing here for funsies. But there's potential here for this team to, I think, be a play-in team. And if you tell me that this team is a play-in team in year one of Scoot, which is the sophomore season, if you will, for Shaedon Sharpe, and Damian Lillard isn't on the roster, I think you'd be pretty excited, would you not? I think you would. So I want to see how this plays out. I really do. Where Dame goes, likely Miami. At least that's what it feels like, right? But I do think there's plenty of other options as well. Now you've seen some potential trades. Like I've seen one that's been thrown around there. It would take multiple position or players, but like if Dame wants to play with OG and Pascal so bad, why not send him to Toronto? And Toronto has to part with Scotty Barnes in the process. Okay? Now Toronto is in a situation where they got the best point guard that they've had since in forever, right? Since maybe, Kyle Lowry did have a nice little run there, but maybe Damon Stoudemire when he was there, he was phenomenal. So you get Dame, and you get Pascal, and you get OG, and you still got Jakob Poeltl, and you're like, you know what? This team's decent. But you gotta part with that one young building block of a piece, and that's Scotty Barnes. And now Portland gets Scoot and Ant and Shea and Scotty Barnes and Jeremy Grant, and they didn't part with Yusuf Nurkic in the process. I like the next year or two of the Portland Trailblazers as they build around that trio. Actually, that quad, that foursome. I like that. I like that a lot. There's also the Boston one. I don't think that one's happening in a minute. Boston parting with Jaylen Brown in any sort of deal. I don't see that one happening. But still, Jaylen Brown would be great. There's packages Brooklyn could put together that you've seen. I just do not think that Miami is the end-all be-all here. Miami may be the team that Damian Lillard said he wants to play for. But this ain't Bradley Beal. There is not a full no-trade clause that Damian Lillard's working with. He's working under the goodwill clause. I did so much for you and now I would like out, so please trade me to the team I want to go play for. This is where Joe Cronin earns his keep. Are you going to be known as the GM that sends players off to wherever they want to play, regardless of the package you get back? Or are you going to do the absolute best thing for your franchise? Because the best thing for your franchise is to take the best package possible. What say you? Chime in 503-248-0620 or hit me up on Twitter at Chris J. Burkhardt to give me your thoughts. I'm also on Threads at the Chris Burkhardt. Continue the conversation wherever you want. We're going to take a quick break. I'm going to get some water. You can't hear, the voice is starting to struggle. I have like 5 hours of VO work and hour 4 of radio. We're on it today, baby. So you can follow me on Twitter at Chris J. Burkhardt. Follow me on Threads at the Chris Burkhardt. Continue the conversation as long as we want over there on those two lovely apps. Finally got word from the boss man. Golf ran long. He's not going to be able to join us today. Shocking. I told him, ran long. Oldest trick in the book.
Courtside Monday will be on next week.
When am I gonna have the grapefruits to be like, hey, Chad, I'm not gonna be here Monday, but speaking of, I do have a little vacation planned in August, so I'm not gonna be here on Monday, but we can't just skip Courtside Monday. Like, we don't just skip Rip City Drive if you're not here. So, Chad, you're gonna have to stay an extra hour for Courtside Monday.
You better remind him a couple times.
That's right. You'll be here to be in his ear, be like, hey, by the way, Courtside Monday is it's still on. I'll be. You know what? We'll have to talk to you. I might be in position on that day. I don't want to give it away just in case my children are listening. But I might be in position on that day to connect via the access and host an entire show remotely.
Where are you going to be? You going to be on one of the islands?
Yeah, sure. I'll tell you off radio. Like I said, just in case one of my kids are listening. I'm not taking the bait. They don't know it's a surprise. But that would be ultimate flex on your and I's part. Now, I guess you guys did it during COVID, but Shacker produces Courtside Monday from his house while I host Courtside Monday from an undisclosed location that is not the studio.
We got remote equipment. Chad and Dwight are getting ready to use it this Friday for Pac-12 Media Day.
That's true.
Down in Vegas.
But that's why we have the app, so I can just connect and you can get crystal clear audio from anywhere. We're going to do this. We're going to have some fun. I'd rather do that than trust Chad to come host. Hope you had fun out there on the golf course. Sounds fun. He was out there with friends of the show, Kyle Nishida. You guys might remember that name, as well as Preston Highfield, Dr. Professor Esquire the Fourth. You might remember that name as well. I didn't get the golf invite.
Did you get the results? Did they win?
No, I have to ask him. I was just more concerned with him not showing up after he told me he'd try to. He's in trouble. No good. Anyway, Blazer fans, hit me up on Twitter. We'll continue the conversation. We have a few minutes if you do want to chime in, 503-248-0620. I'll try to get you on before the show ends. But yeah, how are you feeling about the Blazers? Again, I know so much focus has been put on Dame, and I get that. But I think what's unfortunate here is with so much focus on Dame, a little bit of the focus hasn't been on the guys who are here. The fact that Shea is, I think, poised for a real good season. The fact that Scoot is a rookie of the year type talent. The fact that with Dame not here, especially if Dame gets traded to the Eastern Conference, Ant might put up the type of numbers that make him all-star worthy. That's not out of the question. You got Jeremy Grant locked up, who I think makes all the sense in the world. People freaked out about the money in the 5-year deal. I love it. I'm a big Jeremy Grant fan. Matisse Thybulle wanted to go to Dallas, but restricted free agency. They matched it. Boom, he's locked up. Yusuf Nurkic can't be traded or doesn't need to be traded, unless he requests it. And unless you request it, you're going to try to get a trade back for a center because you don't want to lose that. So there's plenty of incentive here. Now, Gary Borden, friend of the show, listener on and tweeter, like he chimed in. He's like, I was talking about that a couple days ago when I was referring to other trade possibilities, and he brought up Toronto. He's like, maybe Portland wants to get off of Nurk in that deal, so they bring in a Jakob Poeltl and to help make money work or whatnot. And that's what you'd have to do if you gave up a Nurk, in my opinion, is you'd have to try to get a center back in that deal. Otherwise, I mean, you don't want to have to roll out Jeremy Grant all year as a small ball center, or even though I said I think he'd be a good backup, or Jabari Walker out there.